Critical race theory. You may have heard of it. You might even have a strong opinion on that. If you already do, this video probably you probably won't like it. Yeah, I noticed critical race theory was trending over the last couple days, and I can't really figure out why. It's not exactly a new thing. The most likely source of why people are all of a sudden talking about it more was some Texas school board person who said they wanted they wanted to ban critical race theory from their schools. I'm not really sure, but one thing that I do know is people are talking about it. A recent comment on my YouTube channel like asked me about it, and I decided, you know what? So many people have really strong opinions about this, and quite frankly, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Shocker. Some people have really strong opinions on things that they don't know shit about. So I decided this is going to be a good opportunity to link into it. I'm a streamer now, so I can do this research on stream, find out what I can, and hopefully it'll be interesting to you. Just as a primer to tell you where I'm coming from, the I guess the closest thing to being exposed to critical race theory came from the time where friend of the show Vash appeared on the Timcast, and they didn't talk about it a lot, but Vash kind of planted the seed that people who most of the like politicians especially who criticize critical race theory probably couldn't even define it. So I'm going to attempt, because in that conversation it was kind of worthless. Yeah, it's really hard to have these kinds of conversations with someone like Tim Pool. I can elaborate on that some other time, but it would be a diversion tonight. But there's one thing that is absolutely that you have to know about Vosh, and I say this as someone who likes him. I like Vosh so much that I made that splash screen that you saw earlier. About how I bring him up so much, but Vosh is a consequentialist rhetorician. And you always have to keep that in mind. And not only that, I know that a couple months ago he went on Destiny's stream, and they had a conversation. And Jesus Christ, if someone walked away from that conversation choosing to never believe anything Vosh says ever again, I couldn't blame them. It was a really bad performance for him. But I think that Vosh is sincere enough, often enough, to not necessarily. I don't think it's wise to just, dismiss everything he says offhand. However, and Vosh actually did study in sociology. But being a consequentialist rhetorician, if there is a dark underbelly to critical race theory, Vosh is not the person who will say this in public. So, let's find out what we can. I have a literal blank slate here. The only thing I did was, title this document, and yeah, actually, this is good. I'm going to build this. This is almost certainly going to be a series, because something as complex as critical race theory, you can't really do justice to this in under an hour. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a series. If you like this, please hit the like button, leave your questions or comments below, and I'll gladly like take that into account. It'll give me a better idea as to how much of this research that I will continue doing on stream versus off stream. But let's define some parameters here. And chat, if you think there's something I'm missing, please let me know. All right. Let's see. Yes. So the key question is, what is it? What is critical race theory? That's where we're getting at. Actually, yeah, this should be good for you and for me. So what is it? I think a key part to answering what it is who is behind it, and when, which will bring us to the why. I doubt we're gonna get to why tonight, but yeah, I don't think I don't think where and how are relevant, to be honest. So I'm just gonna leave those for now. So right now, I think we're gonna focus on what critical race theory is, and for that, we're gonna start with Wikipedia. And I know that I've gotten into arguments on Wikipedia back in the day. I think Wikipedia is a great place to start research. I think if that's all that you limit yourself to, it's very virtually impossible to walk away with like an accurate view of what it is. But it's a good place to start. And also, I would say that, and I'm sure most of you would agree, Wikipedia probably has like a center left bias, center left to left bias. So I expect the Wikipedia entry for critical race theory to be pretty charitable to it. So I want to be transparent about that. So let us go critical race theory wiki. Oh, and the main thing that I wanted to convey also is, remember back at the beginning of this segment when I said most people who have a strong opinion on critical race theory don't know what the fuck they're talking about? I am sure that despite the center left to left bias that I'm assuming, just reading this article will put you ahead of most people who have a really strong opinion on it. Yeah, that is the sad state of online discourse. I remember once Destiny's chat asked him like, how do you stay so informed on all these different topics? And his answer, and he says this over and over again, is like, honestly, just read the whole article, and that in itself will put you ahead of most people who cite it and just read the headline, maybe the first paragraph. So let's do the same to this article right here. Critical race theory, or CRT, is an academic movement. Okay, so right there, it's academic, which means it's going to be really complex. And academia, depending on the science, and I don't mean to poison the well right away, but academics have the option, the ability to just bury meaning in all these layers of rhetoric and complicated notions. So again, this sounds very well poisony, but I just want to point it out. So it's an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists in the United States who seek to critically examine the law as it intersects with issues of race and to challenge mainstream liberal approaches to racial justice. Okay. CRT examines social, cultural, and legal issues as they relate to race and racism. Okay. So far, so good. This here confirms what I suspected, which is that, you know, critical race theory, presumably based on this and what the little that I knew, it kind of rests on intersectionality. So let's take a closer look. I'm sure, actually, oof, I I just caught this word internalization. I'm getting ready for the cringe. All right, but what I really wanted to do, intersectionality. Okay, cool. But intersectional is in here twice. Yeah, exactly. Intersectional theory. But this is much later on. So let's go back to the beginning here. Okay, CRT originated in the mid 70s in the writings of American legal scholars, including Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, Richard Delgado, and Cheryl L. Harris. Whoever this guy is, Charles R. Lawrence III, Mari Matsuda, and Patricia J. Williams. Okay. Um, I opened a bunch of tabs and kind of gave up. So I'm going to assume for now that. Did I skip over Alan Freeman? I might have. Anyway, love how many major theme items there are. Yeah, well, it's academic. It's a field of academic study in the social sciences. So we got to be ready for that, Evo. So yeah, we'll see. Now, one thing that I want to know, actually, let's go here. When? Mid 1970s. Who I'm going to, how am I going to do this? You know what? I'm just going to copy paste the links to their individual wikis because we won't have time to go into this tonight. But you know what? Let's just go with the first three people that have their wiki. So that's Derek. Alan doesn't have his own wiki. Kimberly and Richard Delgado. I'm sure the other names will come out as well. And here, let's see if I can. Nice. I'm gonna do this for each one. Good. So we have three of the people, and I'm actually going to note Alan Freeman. He is the second name after Derek Bell. I don't know why he doesn't have a wiki, and it was the second one here. So Alan. Okay, so let's continue reading. CRT emerged as a movement by the mid 80s. Okay, reworking theories of critical legal studies with more focus on race. Okay, in Vosh's appearance on the Timcast, he mentioned this like, oh, critical race theory is just a racial lens to critical theory. So I'm assuming that this might be relevant. Hopefully, okay, let's finish this and see if the first paragraph of this can help us. Yeah, exactly. Critical theory. We were going to get to it. Of course we were. All right. So, actually, where's when? Mid 70s to mid 80s. All right. Both CRT and CLS were rooted in critical theory. Okay, yeah. Which argues that social problems are influenced and created more by societal structures and cultural assumptions than by individual and psychological factors. Ooh, okay. Jeez, I'm not gonna open these wikis, but this, I'm sure. Oh man, this right here could probably be an entire like 6 months of study just for this. And yeah, I'm just giving a quick overview in one segment. I'm not gonna be able to get this, but there's one thing though that I do want to put out there while I have your attention. Intersection. I hate the term intersectionality. I usually call it intersectionalism. So when you hear me say that, that's what I mean. Okay. So I'm somewhat familiar with intersectionalism in the sense that it kind of analyzes societal factors from the different vectors that can influence your perception of a situation, commonly known as vectors of oppression. I'm sure that'll come up. But class is one of those vectors. And if you have like intersectional analysis of a situation and you ignore class, it could lead to some really crazy conclusions. Like the notion that Oprah Winfrey is more oppressed than some white guy in a trailer park because she's black and she's a woman is crazy. However, if you either ignore class or minimize its importance, I'm sure there's some theorists who would argue in that favor. And a friend of mine who's in the chat has apparently had people argue that to him, and that's crazy. Yeah, and the funny thing is, the notion that class is one of the vectors that intersectionalism considers or can consider. I learned that from a leftist podcast. So in theory, it kind of is known, and it's difficult for me to imagine why like people would either ignore that or not pay attention to it. It's really weird. You just destroyed many of Robin DiAngelo's interview arguments. Absolutely, and this is something I've mentioned on stream before. The online left or the far left, they understand that Robin DiAngelo's is grifting. They know this. The only people who are fooled by this white fragility shit is boomer liberals and like corporate HR departments. Like if you if you go on Twitter, I'm sure you'll see a bunch of people with fucking hammer and sickle emojis in their fucking names making fun of Robin DeAngelis. This isn't a controversial thing. If you look for it, you'll find it. I hear lefties complaining about. I hear lefties complaining about the white fragility training program or the white fragility umbrella of corporate training products all the time. So yeah. All right, let's go back to this wiki. Where was I? Yeah, man, this is gonna take a while to unpack. So let's finish here. CRT is loosely unified by two common themes. First, that white supremacy exists and maintains power through the law. Second, that transforming the relationship between law and racial power and also achieving racial emancipation and anti-subordination more broadly are possible. Critics of CRT argues that it relies on social constructionism, elevates storytelling over evidence and reason, rejects the concepts of truth and merit, and opposes liberalism. Okay, so this, like again, just now with what we've read, and let's be frank, we just read like the intro to the fucking wiki. You're already ahead of most people, spewing all their fucking strong opinions on critical race theory on Twitter. Just saying. So what do I want to look at first? Actually, I think critical theory is going to be important. Um, yeah. Oh, you know what? Let's cover definitions first, and then we can jump over to critical race theory, to critical theory. So, Roy L. Brooks. Let's add it. Let's add Roy's name. There. So, Roy L. Brooks defines CRT in 1994 as a collection of critical stances against the existing legal order from a race based point of view. Richard Delgado, who, yeah, we have named. Okay. Richard Delgado, a co founder of CRT. Ooh, okay. Co founder. You know what? I'm just adding this as a note. I'll look into that later. So, Richard Delgado, a co founder of CRT, defined CRT in 2017 as a collection of activists and scholars. So, CRT is people? Okay. So, a co founder of CRT defines it as people interested in studying and transforming the relationship among race, racism, and power. Okay. Tommy J. Curry. No. Let's do it. Will this copy the link too? No, it won't. Okay. Like that. Tommy J. Curry defines CRT as the view that the law and legal institutions are inherently racist and that race itself, instead of being biologically grounded and natural, is a socially constructed concept that is used by white people to further their economic and political interests at the expense of people of color. Man, I don't know how familiar you are with this stuff, but that sounds cringy on its face. But the argument for that is stronger than you might initially think. An example that comes to mind, which I'm sure Tommy J. Curry cited because it's such an obvious example. Irish people are considered white by today's standards, but back in the day, they were. I don't know what they were considered, but Irish people were were probably treated vastly different based on the fact that they're Irish, right? I don't want to venture too far as to like whether or not they were considered to be white, but I'm sure we've all seen the Irish need not apply. Oh, myth? Oh, might be a myth. Well, it's contested. Oh, Vox. Next. Let me just find a picture instead of going down another rabbit hole. Uh, anyway, this is apocryphal. I'm not an expert in this, but the point I'm going at is that, you know, race being socially constructed and used by white people to further their economic and political interests, the argument for that is stronger than you might think at first. All right. So I think that'll be it for this page. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Let's cover critical theory, at least the first couple paragraphs or two. For some unknown reason, that third definition just has very real hit me as very real based on personal observations and feeling. Take that for what it's worth. Yeah. I wait. The third definition. So this one. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Henry. I get it. I you know I've spoken on this stream before about how like I don't often think of the fact that I'm black, but if something will fucking yank me back into my blackness like that, it's the presence of a cop. That'll like, oh, I better be on my best behavior like right now, or else I might die. So yeah, I know that cops are a threat to everyone, but growing up black, it's as a black man especially. Whew, yeah. All right, let's try to cover some critical theory, and that'll be that. All right, let's do it. Critical theory, also capital. Okay, yeah. Is an approach to social philosophy that focuses on reflective assessment and critique of society and culture in order to reveal and challenge power structures. Man, intersectionalists talk about power all the time. That is crazy. Intersectionalists talk about power almost as much as Nazis do. Just saying. All right. Um, so, with origins in sociology and literary criticism. Okay, yeah. It argues that social problems are influenced and created more by societal structures and cultural assumptions than by individual and psychological factors, meaning that ideology is the principal obstacle to human liberation. Okay. Critical theory was established as a school of thought primarily by the Frankfurt School. I've heard the term Frankfurt School a lot. in the past. I opened up another tab. We'll bookmark it for later. So yeah, it was established primarily by the Frankfurt School theoreticians Herbert Marcuse, Theodore Adorno, Walter Benjamin, Eric Form, and Max Horkheimer. Okay. Horkheimer described a theory as critical insofar as it seeks to liberate human beings from the circumstances that enslave them. Okay. Let's continue. In sociology and political philosophy, critical theory means the Western Marxist philosophy of Frankfurt School. Oh, is this a postmodern neo-Marxist meme? I don't know, but let's continue. Listen, I'm just gonna like blast through the rest of this because this tangent is a little too much for like this segment. But let's at least get it out there, and we can circle back and see in another segment. And again, if you want, like, if this exploration is interesting to you, please let me know in the comments below because I'm interested in this stuff. I think there's value in discovering it in public, and yeah. But of course, like if nobody cares, then I'll just look it up myself on my own time, you know. But yeah, I'm kind of like using my streamer privilege to look things up in public, and hopefully my 2 cents are interesting. All right, where was I? Developed in Germany in the 1930s and drawing ideas of Karl Marx and Sigmund Freud. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. Through though a critical theory or critical social theory may have similar elements of thought, capitalizing critical theory as if it were a proper noun stresses the intellectual heritage specific to the Frankfurt School. Okay. Modern critical theory has also been influenced by Georgi Lucas and Antonio Gramsci, as well as second generation Frankfurt School scholar. Okay, so this is just a bunch of Frankfurt School people. So yeah, in Habermas's work, critical theory transcended its theoretical roots in German idealism. Okay, let's open up a tab for this. And progressed closer to American pragmatism. Concern for social base and superstructure, Jesus, is one of the remaining Marxist philosophical concepts in much contemporary critical theory. Postmodern. I called it! I fucking called it! Oh, jeez. Postmodern critical theory analyzes the fragmentation of cultural identities in order to challenge the, modernist era constructs such as meta narratives, rationality, and universal truths, while politicizing social problems by situating them in historical and cultural contexts to implicate themselves in the process of collecting and analyzing data and to relativize their findings. All right. I like the subject, but by God, do I hate academics? Oh, I hear you. Spoiler alert: a lot of academics hate academics. I don't know I don't know how many academics you've been around, but yeah, uh, from my experience, and again, my experience in higher education was in computer science, so it's kind of a hard science in the sense that it's math. But yeah, if you want if you want to hear someone bitch about academia, ask an academic. I'm sure there's something that they will bitch about to hell and back, you know. But yeah, the final thing I wanted to mention, and this kind of gives me hope. You know, the whole meme that Jordan Peterson often throws out of postmodern neo-Marxism. I, you know, obviously he says that term a lot, right? But the reason why I personally shy away from using that term, and I never did to my knowledge in public anyway, is that I don't want to use a term that I don't understand. And I learned this back in the day when I was like a Stefan Molyneux zealot, and every other thing that I would say, and Evo, you were there for that. Every other thing I would say, I would start by, well, Stefan says blah blah blah, and at the slightest pushback, it would kind of, I would kind of devolve into other Molyneux quotes and whatever. So really, that period when I came out on the other side of that, that's when I realized that it's really important to just not appeal to things that you can't define in your own terms. So when I saw when I saw people pushing back against the postmodern neo-Marxism meme that Jordan Peterson popularized, I instantly knew, like, holy shit, whatever he means by postmodern neo-Marxism, I'm probably out of my depth if I go there. So I'm just gonna stay away from it. Whatever I can criticize in my own words, I'll do that. And yeah, so listen, that's it for this installment of Sydney Learns About Critical Race Theory. I don't know what this series is going to be called, but I am going to continue this. Maybe not every week, but definitely I want to pursue this rabbit hole. So, hey, thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please like the video. And please leave your questions, comments, and observations in the comments below. I respond to almost all my comments. And yeah, I hope to hear you. I hope to see you in the chat. I do this every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon.